Still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable.
Oh, yeah.
Still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable.
Banner 18. J. King and Packard in the B-Roll.
Still Poddable, still Poddable.
The Jay-Z White in the catalog.
Still Poddable, still Poddable.
The kids are legends to go.
Still Poddable, still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable.
Oh, yeah.
I just have to go to a bathroom.
Welcome back to Still Poddable, the best place for coverage of the 2023-2024 World Champion Boston Celtics. I am Sam Packard, joined by Jay King from The Athletic. This is the free episode of Still Poddable, so we are live on the CLNS YouTube page. If you enjoy our show, please go to patreon.com/stillpoddable. We got podcasts for you every single day, Monday through Friday. The best Celtics content out there. This show is brought to you by Prize Picks and Game Time. Use the promo code CLNS if you want to save with those good products. Now, we had some big pieces of news today. I thought
Big pieces.
the biggest piece of news was going to be Derrick White signing his extension, but
No.
a half hour after that, it came out that Wyc Grousbeck and the rest of the principal owners of the Boston Celtics are planning to sell the Boston Celtics. Was really a shock to me. I feel like just a month ago, Wyc was on the radio talking about how he's in it to win championships. They love the kind of long-term success of this team. And now it's not going to happen immediately. I don't think they sell their stake until 2025. And then Wyc would officially step down as the main governor in 2028. But still, shocking stuff here because it's just not what you expect after the team wins Banner 18.
Yeah, just a few days after. So really a stunner. And here's the thing, like, who knows what's going to come from this? Who knows who they'll sell it to? Sounds like Wyc will still be in charge for years. But, this has been a good ownership group. It has been an ownership group willing to pay tax. It has been an ownership group that has allowed talent in the front office to flourish. It has been an ownership group. Whoa, people here are going crazy. Sorry, I'm at the Cape with some family.
Well, we just got some breaking news that Jayson Tatum signed his $315 million extension. So that also just came in. So people everywhere are going crazy.
A lot of news.
A lot of stuff going on.
So yeah, and one reason why this is such an interesting time to sell is that there's going to be either an astronomical tax figure, not this season, but next season, or the person who buys the team is going to have to start beginning to strip it down and get rid of some of the pieces and not pay upwards of $200 million in tax. So there's going to be a big burden on whoever buys the team to kind of keep this together, and keep it afloat. And I don't know whether this will be a good thing. I genuinely don't know whether you never know when a new owner is going to come in and have deep pockets, be like Steve Ballmer and kind of bring an infusion of energy, or go the other way and try to make a big imprint, or just not be willing to pay as much as the current owners are. So big news, crazy news, and potentially, well, definitely franchise altering news. The franchise is going to change hands, but potentially big news with how the team is run. We'll see.
Yeah, it feels like the owners have done a great job in terms of like bringing in the right people, the right structure, kind of a seamless transition from Danny Ainge to Brad Stevens, allowing Brad Stevens to kind of operate, and they get their second championship. So they were there in 2008 as well. I do think it's like directly connected to the breaking news that Jayson Tatum just signed the biggest contract in NBA history for $315 million. They also just signed an extension for Derrick White. I think I saw a figure today from Bobby Marks that not next year, but the following year, just if they keep everyone who's currently under contract, the combination of the salaries they're going to pay and the luxury tax would be $450 million. And so, yes, the owners are billionaires, but I don't know if Wyc Grousbeck has that kind of money. And it's just been interesting watching other teams in the NBA kind of operate this free agency. I think we see the Warriors trying to get under the tax, the Bucks trying to get under the tax, the Clippers and Lakers, all teams who are trying to avoid beating repeater tax teams because that's when there's a lot of these punitive penalties come in. The Celtics, I think, would be in a repeater tax next year. And so I don't know if it's directly connected to the just skyrocketing payroll for the Boston Celtics, but it feels like you kind of have to mention it. And so it's going to be fascinating to see. I don't think it's going to have implications necessarily for next year, but the year after that, when either Wyc or the person who's now going to buy the team is on the hook for $450 million, how much does that impact kind of their approach towards winning in banner 19 or maybe banner 20 if they repeat?
Yeah. I mean, it's an enormous question. It's a question that's going to dictate how much of the core they're willing to keep together. With the extensions today to Derrick White and to Jayson Tatum, they have everybody under contract for years. Like they have a chance. They have runway, especially with the way the CBA is and how restrictive the CBA has been for other teams. They have runway to maybe like just rattle off 2, rattle off 3. Who knows? I mean, a lot goes into it. A lot of luck is necessary, but they're set up really well to compete as long as they're able to keep these guys together and they stay healthy. And keeping them together, depending on what the new ownership is, like that might not be easy. That's going to be really hard. It's going to take a lot of freaking money. And I mean, obviously, like for Wyc, this is a great time to sell.
He's making phenomenal time to sell. Money.
I believe they bought in for $360 million. It's now worth probably somewhere around $5 billion is the estimate.
I would guess well north of 5 at this point.
And like, he won't have to be the sole bad guy if they do have to make cost-cutting decisions. Don't sell to Fenway Sports Group, Wyc. Do not sell to Fenway Sports Group. That would be the one way, I think, to go out as a villain after notching his second championship as the owner. But yeah, I mean, there's just a lot unknown right now with Wyc in charge, with Steve Pagliuca in charge. Like, you knew kind of how the Celtics were going to operate, but now with the most enormous tax bill in NBA history looming, this is just a major significant variable. It was great news though to sign Jayson Tatum to an extension, though that was very much expected by everybody. But also great news to sign Derrick White to an extension, because we've talked about it a bunch of times on this podcast. He could have realistically held out for more money, waited to hit free agency, and cashed in to an even greater degree. He's going to be making less than some guys he should not be making less than. But it was just enough to get him to say, "Yep, sign me up." And that's a huge deal, because obviously he's a big part of what they do. But to be able to go into next season with the whole group intact, with Kristaps out till December, but other than that, the whole championship team that won 64 games and now might come back. Like, who knows? Some teams come back from championship and have a hangover. Some teams come back from championship and it just clicks for them after that. Scal kind of talks about how for the 08 team, the next year he thought they were even better because they had gone through the playoff run. I think they started 28-2 or something ridiculous that year before KG got hurt. But the Celtics, they really do have a chance to not just be a one-time winner, but to push this thing forward. And and getting Derrick White on board. He's just turned 30, or is just about to turn 30, one or the other. But they should get him for some very good years with these next 4 years through his year 33 season.
And they're getting him at a relatively low number compared to what you think his value would be in the rest of the league. What was the total? It was 4 years, like 120?
126.
So it's like around $30 million a year for Derrick White. Obviously, it's like.
And Tobias Harris got 2 for 52 for reference.
Exactly. And so.
And not everything is a against B, apples against oranges thing. But
in terms of the new TV deal kicking in, the cap is going to probably continue to go up. I saw some graphic where like Derrick White's percentage, his deal as percentage of the cap will go down each of the years. And so it's just like, it's great that they're able to keep those core, I would say 4 guys, and having Drew and Derrick, it seems like a lot of money, but at a relatively cheap number, especially compared to Jalen and Jayson making over 50. I think it's going to be huge for them. I just wanted to get back to the ownership point and just like the stability that's been on it. We talk so much in this league about like the organizational culture, and that is so much driven by like the owners. Like the Clippers were kind of like a joke franchise for so long. Still, some people might call them a joke franchise, but like what Ballmer's doing is like the willingness to spend money. That just like dictates it and has an impact over the course of the entire organization. And there's so many bad franchises in this league with bad ownership, and I think it clearly affects product on the court. I feel like we've seen that with the Suns and Robert Sarver. The Pistons have been a poorly run franchise. The Hornets, Michael Jordan was not a great owner. Like ownership does really matter in this league because it affects how your entire organization operates and just like the culture within that organization. And so, yes, one, it's like the willingness to spend money, but it's like, how much is that owner meddling in basketball decision-making? How much is that owner being like, we need to draft this player because we need to have better like season ticket numbers next season? And I never got the sense that the Celtics ownership was like that. They very much let the basketball people be the basketball people, and they were willing to spend the money to do so. But if I'm spending $5 billion for the Boston Celtics, no one's asked me yet, but if I'm doing it, I feel like if you like the new owner like might want to come in and be like, we should do these types of things. And so it's going to be a very interesting dynamic to see like who has that type of money, and do they come in and like understand the culture of the Boston Celtics, and do they want to change things and make an imprint on it? It does have these kind of large ramifications to just how the team is run.
Huge ramifications. And I thought the best thing that the current ownership group did was just hire smart guys and trust them to do what they are supposed to do. Danny Ainge was there for a long, long time. After him, it's been Brad Stevens. They trusted Doc Rivers after a terrible year in 2007 and kept him around, won a championship with him in 2008. I think they had just 3 head coaches between Doc Rivers, Brad Stevens, at 4 with Ime and Joe Mazzulla. Ime obviously had a short tenure for reasons that had not much to do with ownership, but I thought that just the trust in the people you hire to do the job and to make sure you get the right guys in charge, and then just kind of, I don't want to say sit back, because there were definitely some times that they made their voice heard on the basketball side of things, and that's not a secret. Like Wick has gone out and said, I told them we need to make changes this year, kind of taking credit for some of the overhaul that they did with bringing in Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. But for the most part, like to have the continuity that they've had from front office to coaches to keeping Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, like they've just had continuity on all 3 levels, and have for the most part had synergy, I think, on all 3 levels, which is rare. and which is very valuable. So yeah, how worried are you that this ownership change could throw things off kilter, could ruin a good day?
It feels hard to worry about it because, like I said at the start, it's not going to be an immediate transfer. Like, there's going to be someone who puts up a large chunk of the money in, I think, 2025. But Wick is still like the principal governor, right, until 2028. At least that's what the press release said. And so that gives some time to like have someone come in, view what's going on, try to learn kind of like who that is. It's just kind of a real unknown. I don't know who can afford like a $5 billion sports franchise. I think there's like, you see it in like Premier League soccer with like a bunch of like oil money coming in. Like, I would ideally like the thing that I liked about this ownership group is that they were Celtics fans. And so their commitment to winning was like, we're going to do what it takes to get Banner 18. Like, the name of their group was Banner, like their ownership group was initially Banner 17. Then they changed it to Banner 18. They've very much not been like the Fenway Sports Group and just like viewing the team as an asset. And that is my biggest concern, is that some random like Wall Street or like oil tycoon comes in and is just like, oh, this is an appreciating asset, and doesn't put as much investment into it just in terms of like trying to win, as clearly Wick and Pags have done over their last 20 years.
Yeah, and you can see even recent champions like Denver won a championship, and ownership group allowed Bruce Brown to leave. I guess Bruce Brown, they didn't really have a choice, but they've let pieces go that were very important to that team. They seem very interested in not paying a huge tax bill, and it's hard to pay as much tax as the Celtics owners will have to pay, like 250-ish million, whatever it is. That's
on top of a $200 million like salary. Like $450 million in a season is wild. You're just not gonna make that back in revenue
unless you charge crazy prices for the beers,
which is not good. I think one thing that's interesting, I think some Mannix tweeted this out, was like, one thing that's interesting, and this is just from like a weird nerdy sports business perspective, the Celtics don't own their own building. Like, that's owned by Delaware North, who's like also owns the Bruins. And so I think we saw this with the Clippers. If you want to make money in the NBA, as much money as possible, you need to own the building so you can have all the like rights to all, like, the Celtics don't make any money off concessions. That's all the Bruins from their games. And so if you want to really make it into like,
they don't make money off concerts, they don't make money off anything.
And so
except
the basketball and like the tickets to that. And so it'd be like,
hey, do you know what's fun summertime activity? Going down to Fenway and watching the Red Sox play baseball. I did it a couple days ago, and it was a lot of fun, and I got there using Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch, and with last-minute deals, all-in prices, and views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. If you went on Game Time, you could have seen the Boston Celtics celebrate the World Championship with the trophy. Joe Mazzulla looking like a second baseman there. Game Time is the absolute best place to get last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. It's easy to find and buy MLB tickets for any other kind of event in your area. You get to view seats from the venue, and again, that has that lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection. It's got everything you want, including zone deals, all-in pricing, and ticket coverage. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Does a new owner want to come? If I'm paying $5 billion, do I want to come in and like really be a lease holder to the Boston Bruins? Do I want to build a new stadium, kind of like the Clippers did? I don't know if you know this, Jay. Boston's kind of a tightly.
Where would you put an
What I'm
arena
trying to say, like there's been talk of
somewhere in
putting
the seaport.
Seaport, maybe there's talk of putting like a soccer stadium near the casino in Everett, but like then you get to like taking the Boston Celtics out of Boston, which kind of feels weird.
That would be cool if they got another championship though, and they didn't have to celebrate at Big Night Live and could just walk next door to the casino.
Sure. Yeah, I'm for that. I don't know if there's enough space over there by the old water plant down my casino, but it's just all these things where it's like it just creates this like crazy level of variables. Like I don't even know. It's gonna be fascinating to see how the rumors come in and trickle out. Because this is like owning a team is like the ultimate rich guy thing. Like it's a status thing where, I don't know, if I was a billionaire, it'd be the first thing on my list of something I want to be interested in. We've seen people kind of desperate to do it. We saw A-Rod trying to buy the Timberwolves over a
Still trying,
still engaged in a lengthy legal battle. And whereas a similar like 2-stage purchasing thing. So who knows? Maybe in 2 years, Wick just says, we've just won 3 in a row. I don't really want to do this. I don't want to take this back.
Yeah, it's just such an unknown. Like you said, there's so much. Like if I had $5 billion to buy a basketball team, I'd want to get my own arena. Absolutely would want to get my own arena. And that one other piece that it felt like the history of the Celtics mattered to the current ownership group. Like you said, having Banner 17, Banner 18, and Draymond Green recently went on his podcast and was like, do you know how crazy that is in the NBA to like keep saying Banner 18? And at every press conference, like they had 18 on the shot clock. Like they did not shy away from the fact that all they cared about was winning a title. And Draymond was like, and then to go and do it is really impressive. Now it took 16 years. That's a long time. It wasn't a quick overnight success, but they only had basically one poor year in that. They had a bunch of conference finals years. They had two other trips to the finals in between. And they've just done a great job of putting competitive product out there year after year after year after year. Now, like it's hard to analyze it, I guess, just because there's so much unknown. Like they could get sold to the richest person in the world. I don't even know who that is. And he comes in and is just like, I love the fucking Boston Celtics. I don't want to change much. I want to empower Brad Stevens. I want Joe Mazzulla to stay here for a long, long time. I want to pay $450 million a year to have the greatest basketball team on earth. And that's a possibility. Who knows? The Boston Celtics are up for sale after they just won a championship. I can only imagine that there's going to be some interest in that. But at the same time, like you just never know with owners, and the bad ones can be really, really destructive. They can fire GMs, they can fire coaches, they can restrict what GMs do. They can order them like Matt Ishbia did in Phoenix to make trades that probably the front office wouldn't do if that owner wasn't around. And that's what you want to avoid. Or they can just start
pinching pennies. They can be like, meh, maybe we don't need Mookie Betts.
Yeah. Like, see you, Drew. Bye.
Bye, Drew. Bye, Kristaps.
Sorry, Kristaps, you've been hurt too much. We don't want to pay your $30 million. Bye. See ya. That's possible. Absolutely possible.
It's interesting that Wick's still going to be the governor until 2028, and so.
But that also sets up like a power struggle in the interim. Like if I've paid whatever $1 billion and in installments, I at least want my voice heard. And
Wick's much more willing to pay that when he just gets $5 billion.
Jam has gone dark. You just got rid of yourself, bro. Did you leave?
I'm back.
Well, what was that?
I was checking a woe. It was Goga beat a DJ.
Bethesda.
What?
Bethesda.
Well, yeah. Well, he signed a 3-year, $25 million contract, and so I'm recording on my phone, and that Woj notification popped up, and I was like, wanted to see what it was. Oh, Colin Gillespie has agreed to a 2-way deal with the Suns.
that's why I keep hearing the buzz.
Yes.
I was like, why do I keep hearing the buzz of Packard's phone? It's because you're recording on your phone. It actually sounds pretty good.
I'm actually shocked at how great this works. Shout out to StreamYard. Like, this has been kind of a seamless thing, other than all these Woj bombs.
I'll tell you if there's one that's worth noting on this.
All right, I won't check it.
Podcast. Yeah.
Well, speaking of free agency, there was people complaining like right after it turned July 1st, like, oh, what happened? It's been dead. The NBA is awesome, man. We get an NBA championship, and then like 3 days later, it's just like the entire league changes. What have been your thoughts? Like, the Celtics haven't done much.
Are you a little nervous about the Sixers?
Not nervous. They're certainly better. But it's not like Paul George has a lot of deep playoff experience. I'm going to steal Danger Cart's line. He has a lot of experience playing in the playoffs while his number one star is hurt, so that should help the 76ers. But I still don't think they're clearly adding more talent. It will make the East a lot more interesting, but until Joel Embiid proves that he can play deep into a playoffs and have a playoff run, that's not a better team than the Boston Celtics.
We also have no clue what their supporting cast is going to look like.
They just lost Melton. They just lost Batum. They got Andre Drummond.
And Oubre and Eric Gordon.
Eric Gordon. Him and Daryl Morey, friends forever.
Eric Gordon. Still kicking around. He's like 2 years past being washed.
So he might be able to helpful for the Sixers. What do you think about Klay Thompson going to the Mavericks? I mean, I feel like we just watched a bunch of Mavericks. I don't know if
you mean the Mavericks. I thought you said Magic for a second. I'm bugging.
I said Mavericks. Like, they play.
I got the Magic on the mind. I think the Magic are going to be fun
because they added KCP.
Yeah, but also those two young guys are just going to be really good. They've barely begun to scratch the surface.
So that's the move you're most excited about in NBA free agency so far. Magic landing KCP.
I like fun shit, and I've been
put it on a bumper sticker, Jay.
I've been a huge Jalen Suggs guy for a long time. I think Boncaro and Wagner, if either of those guys learns how to shoot, and if both of them learn how to shoot, especially, that team is going to be so dangerous because they're sort of like Tatum and Brown in that just by having the two of those guys, you're going to have a ton of versatility defensively. You're going to have a ton of size. Like, they just give you so many options with
everything
just
but
the
shooting.
way to play.
Kind of need shooting.
Yeah. That's going to be a big issue until it's not.
I like
maybe,
how
maybe it always will be.
I asked you about the Mavericks, and you just really wanted to talk about the Magic, so we're talking about the Magic. But
yeah, we'll go back to the Mavericks. They needed shooting.
They needed Derrick Jones Jr., but like, isn't Derrick Jones Jr. a much better defender at this point in his career than Klay Thompson?
Yeah, but he didn't really replace him because Najee replaced him. So he kind of replaced Josh Green because Josh Green went to Charlotte, which I think is an underrated part of this deal. I think Josh Green in Charlotte will be pretty good. I think Josh Green was not meant to be in a slow, isolation-heavy offense. When he gets ball movement, when he gets player movement, I think he has a chance to be pretty good. I'm a big Josh Green guy, and I think that Charles Lee over in Charlotte will like having him on his squad. But back to the Mavericks, who I keep transitioning away from.
Don't want to talk about the Mavericks.
They needed shooting so badly. They needed somebody who could come off screens. They needed somebody who could diversify their offense. They needed someone who can space the floor for Luka and Kyrie. And Klay, his defense has really fallen off, but he shot 39% on 9 3-point attempts per game last season and averaged like 17 or 18 points a game. And I know it's not what he used to be, but I think next to Luka, next to Kyrie, like, that's just a piece that's going to matter. The defense could be problematic because Luka and Kyrie, you kind of have to hide those guys to some extent already. If you also have to hide your primary shooter, if Klay Thompson is playing big minutes, that could be a real issue. But I like the move for them. I think Klay still has something left. I think he has something to prove now. He really does remind me of Ray Allen after Ray left the Celtics, where Ray had reason to like want out of Boston. Like they started Avery Bradley during his final season there. As a proud guy, I think you can look at it and be like, look, I'm still capable of starting. I'm still capable of playing a big role. This team didn't always value me the way I thought I was valued. And I think Klay's kind of in that mode right now. That's what drove him to Dallas, was like he was the one who fell out of favor. He was the one who had to come off the bench. He was the one who really had a roller coaster last 2 years after fighting his way back to help the Warriors win the championship in 2022. So I think he's still got something left. I think he'll help them, and I think next to Luka that he'll get some pretty open looks, probably more stationary looks than he's gotten over the last however many years. And I'm looking forward to what the next Klay chapter looks like. And I think to some extent, like just being away from Golden State, being away from where you're a dynasty will be freeing, just because you don't have to live up to your past anymore. Like you just have to help Luka Doncic space the court. You just have to make shots for Jason Kidd. Like it's totally different when you don't have to live up to your own past, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there are lots of new expectations that come in, and it'll be different for him because they play such a stationary form of basketball that I feel like Klay is so good at this, like split actions and just like constantly moving off the ball and creating shots that way. And maybe
that's what's exciting. That's what's exciting.
That element to the Mavericks offense, and maybe there's something there missing. The thing to me is like it's obviously a big deal because the name of Klay Thompson. I don't know if it necessarily helps the Mavericks so much, because I feel like we saw in the playoffs you need two-way basketball players, and so I think he kind of is a defensive. I wouldn't say liability, but he's not great.
I would say liability at this point.
All right. And then Najee Marshall is not like, he's not a big offensive guy. I just saw his stats. Saw his stats. I was trying to say stats, and then I also shots, and I think I said shats, which is funny. But he only takes 3 threes a game. So it's not like it's like they brought in an offensive guy and a defensive guy. I don't think it necessarily helps the Mavericks in terms of their like closing 5 lineup, but it's an interesting move. Klay took a discount. Like he could have got more money to go to LA. LeBron allegedly. Yeah. This is all
allegedly. That's all according to the reports that LeBron was ready to take a huge pay cut.
You don't believe it?
We've never seen LeBron do that.
Well, he was willing to do it for Klay. But now no one else is left on the market.
But then Klay took a pay cut to not go to the Lakers so that LeBron wouldn't have to take a pay cut. I'm just saying. I don't know if it all adds up. My man Wendy was on TV like, yeah, I don't know if LeBron's going to take that much of a pay cut. I'm not sure Klay is a real option for the Lakers.
That is fair. Are there any other moves that stick out to you as terms of like teams doing things that you like, that are interesting, that would happen over the last 24 hours?
I just think the East overall got better. I think the Sixers are more formidable. We'll see what they do with their supporting cast, but if you get Joel Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey healthy in the playoffs, and there's a question mark about whether they will be healthy, then you're going to be very dangerous. And then I think the Magic got better. I think the Magic are going to be very good.
DeLon Wright to the Bucks, Celtics killer. People forget that's that one game the Celtics lost, game 2 against the Heat. DeLon Wright went 5 of 5 from 3 in the second half. Absolutely destroyed the Celtics, and so Milwaukee got better hypothetically.
Yeah. Not much.
Not much.
They might have needed to get much better, especially with Philadelphia kind of taking a step forward. The Knicks situation with Hartenstein leaving, is that how you say? I always feel like I'm fucking up his name.
It sounds right to me.
Yeah, I never, no matter how I pronounce his name, I think I'm fucking it up. Which I might be. I might always be. But with him leaving, even though you bring in Bridges, how much better are you?
It leaves them definitely up front and like relying on Mitchell Robinson to do a lot.
And it also, one of the major reasons they were good was that they were very physical on the glass. They got a ton of offensive rebounds. With Bridges, you'll be able to win in different ways. But without Hartenstein,
Hartenstein was kind of the straw that stirred the drink. He's a pretty good passer. You mentioned his offensive rebound.
He had a great defensive season. So I think that's going to be a major, major loss. And
I love that move for the Thunder, by the way. I feel like they needed that kind of exact big guy body type to go in their front line because they just didn't have anyone like that on their team.
It was a lot of money. And it's a lot of money for a team that will eventually have to pay everybody else. And it's a lot of money for somebody who might make Chet Holmgren play a position that he's uncomfortable with at power forward. He only played 4% of his minutes at power forward this season. It didn't always work when he played power forward next to Drew Timmy in college. Last season, yeah, it's going to be different, but also like it's a lot harder to field a good offense when you have Chet Holmgren at the 4 versus Chet Holmgren at the 5. Like it just presents different challenges, especially with the way that they have played with the 5 out, the free flowing, the drive after drive after drive, and cut after cut after cut. Like it's just going to be different, and maybe not harder, maybe not. But it's just different. And so I think Chet's going to have a learning curve there, just learning how to play the 4 next to Hartenstein. And but the Knicks, like I'm just not sure. I also think like are they bringing back everybody? Like is it going to be
Well, they just lost Grimy.
But is it going to be Brunson, Hart, DiVincenzo, OG, Bridges, and Randall?
And Mitchell Robinson?
That's just a lot of mouths to feed on the perimeter. Like, and I know they're all friends. I know they're all old teammates. I know you don't think you're going to run into issues because they're all high character guys. But at some point, when you have a lot of guys competing for the same minutes, a lot of guys who have been starters, a lot of guys who have played huge minutes, sometimes unreasonable minutes under Tom Thibodeau, I just think there's some room for just kind of not fitting the way that they think it's going to fit.
Yeah.
And maybe not. Like those guys are all really good. They could be great. I'm not discounting that idea, but I just think I'd be nervous if I were their front office that I assembled a lot of guys who are similar tier players who are going to be upset one way or another, whether it's lack of touches, lack of shots, lack of minutes, whatever.
I feel like Randall, I would not be surprised if he's the first one out just because he's not part of the fun Nova Knicks, but he's also a guy who kind of needs the ball a lot and hasn't been as consistent, even though he's an alleged all-NBA player. But
and they didn't really miss a beat when he was out. Honestly.
Exactly. So East is getting better. People are shifting around the league. Boston Celtics are for sale. I'm sure we'll get lots of rumors about who's potentially going to buy.
Who should they, we got to before we got to who should they sell it to? They got to have Kevin Garnett involved.
You need serious money.
But he's talked about wanting to be an NBA owner before.
He thought he was going to own the Timberwolves.
You gotta invite Kevin Garnett. Because
Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce to be the face of it, and then you need some serious, some money backers who are not wanting to be the main person. that's the ideal kind of thing of it. But like to put up $5 billion, you need some serious money. So I don't know. It's going to be fascinating to see what the rumors are, who comes out, who emerges as potential buyers of the Celtics.
And if it's a $5 billion valuation and Wick sells only, I don't know how many shares he owns, honestly. But if he doesn't sell the whole thing, you won't need $5 billion.
True.
But you're still going to need multiple billions.
You're still going to need multiple Billy.
Trace Comas.
Si, senor.
You've never seen Silicon Valley, have you?
I have, but not enough to immediately clock you.
Ross Hanneman?
Yeah, I just saw a clip of him yesterday about you don't want to go after revenue. You don't want to be pre-revenue. As soon as you get revenue, people want revenue.
Exactly. Trace Comas. Trace Comas was
I think
the
the
name.
Celtics are making revenue. I think they're making.
They're going to be worth Trace Comas.
We'll be here for the rest of the summer to talk to the rumors about what's going on with this Celtics team, to talk about other teams in the East trying to fundamentally change their roster to compete with the Boston Celtics. The Celtics are running it back as they go for banner 19. And if you want the best coverage of that, go to patreon.com/stillpoddable. Does the new owner have to be like change their ownership group team to banner 19 now? Is that a prerequisite to buying the team?
I think Wick will do that while he's in charge.
I guess so.
New owner is going to be banner 22.
If Wick just runs off a four in a row and then rides off to the sunset,
what if the new owner comes in real cocky and is just like, fuck making it banner 19. Let's grab a few of these things and just name it banner 21.
That'd be aggressive, and I would like it until they lost once in the playoffs, and I'd be like, fuck that. You can't. That's hubris. You can't do that.
Yeah, you don't like hubris.
Well, no one should like hubris. Hubris is bad.
Hubris can be entertaining sometimes.
Not when my professional sports franchise.
Hubris can even be a reason someone succeeds in life.
Well, eventually hubris will come for all of us. If I've learned anything from all the many Greek tragedies I've read, Sophocles,
Do you actually read Greek tragedies?
No, I was forced to read those in high school.
Why do you still remember them then?
What? Because I remember lots of things, Jay. Who won the election of 1800? Thomas Jefferson, obviously. That's going to do it for us, folks. We'll be back tomorrow breaking down more NBA free agency. If you enjoy the pod, please go to patreon.com/stillpoddable. Subscribe today. Thank you guys for listening. It's been another great episode of Still Poddable.
Still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable.
Oh, yeah.
Go down from eating and drinking and all that wild stuff.